If we look at a subset of smokers who are otherwise unable or unwilling to quit, they're going to continue to smoke that pack of cigarettes. Half of them will die prematurely later in life from that decision. If we could get all of those people to completely switch all of their cigarettes for one of these non-combustible products, that would be good for public health.
Because I feel like there's still some things that we can talk about. Because obviously, when Dr. Glover was on the show, I'll refer back to Dr. Glover. When Dr. Glover was on the show, she was talking about the fact that her daughter goes to a very good school in New Zealand, and that one of the students committed suicide. Oh. And in the conversation, she dropped the statement that, and she wasn't even on the suicide list.
Yes.
And I said, they have a fucking suicide list?
Yes.
And I didn't say fucking. I apologize. They have a suicide list, and they're not addressing these issues. They're just what, surveilling these people. They're standing by and watching the downslide.
So that's one of my biggest pet peeves. ACE, adverse childhood experiences. Kids that experience a lot of those, be it mental illness, poverty, abuse, a parent with a substance abuse disorder, divorce, a parent that's incarcerated, traumatic experiences where you're not just having a free, carefree childhood. Those kids have the highest tendency to smoke, to drink, to do drugs, to have risky sex. And yet we're going to ban this and ban that and change the age of this or that and slap a Band-Aid on all these societal problems instead of addressing the issues that drive kids to that to the first place. Well, why don't they ask kids, why do you smoke? Sure, some of them want to be cool or their friends are doing it, but some of them feel so bad, they're looking for something, anything to make them feel better. And why don't we do anything about that?
And would they be able to answer the question that it makes me feel better when I smoke or whatever?
Last February.
Yes, I mean, I could have told you that from the age of 10.
Yeah.
That smoking made me feel more able to fit in and better able to cope with the things that life threw at me. I was another one of these people who was on the suicide list at school because, I had some fairly serious issues, which at that time were undiagnosed. And one of the things I used to do was to self-harm. And instead of actually taking me aside and saying, look, what's going on, they just put you on this list and keep an eye on you. And it makes you feel even more singled out for, the wrong kind of attention to be put on that list, rather than somebody actually helping.
That's one of the things that makes me most angry about my life is I'm a kid who fell through the cracks. I was an A student and didn't graduate from high school. My mom was low income. I could have gotten a degree in anything. I could be making $100,000 this year instead of walking around with half my teeth missing. Why didn't anybody notice I needed help, that something wasn't right?
Because that's too difficult and it costs money. That's the problem, is that people, I don't know, I go out of my way to help people to do the right thing, but a lot of society just mumbles along and they just do the bare minimum they can do to get by. I don't understand that attitude at all.
So last March, I did a series of tweets, and I've shared it. If I don't know who's in the back office right now, but March 22nd, I sent a tweet out, and the text is every day I was posting a picture of a vape or whatever, and then a topic, and I said we need to change the narrative. Ask why people smoke instead of blaming them. Stress, depression, fear of the future drive them to smoke. Vaping helps them handle these situations, giving them clean nicotine without killing them. We need to ask people why.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean, that
absolutely.
is I mean, it's 9 times out of 10. If you sat down and had a real conversation with somebody, with a kid that's smoking, don't throw a survey in front of them. Look them in the eye, have a one-on-one conversation, give them time, and say, what's going on? Why? Why are you smoking? Why? What is this experience? Why is it that you're seeking out this experience? And they're not doing that. They're not approaching this question from a place of compassion. They're attacking them. Your behavior is irresponsible. I mean, that's how they come at them. They automatically make them retreat back into themselves and close themselves off.
You're
and they're not
embarrassing
going.
me.
You're not going to get a real conversation with them, because this is you've broken the rules. Yes, Kath is in the chat room. She says no, they're policing. And I'm pro police, so don't get me wrong. I have, obviously there are bad cops, there are good cops. I don't want to get into that conversation. But yes, they're going at this from a position of you've done wrong and must be punished, instead of saying why. We're here to talk to you.
That's the great difference between the way things are dealt with in modern society. Things are improving. I at least in the UK they are, and that there is a more compassionate approach now than there was early on. If you were caught smoking at school, they literally punish you. You got detention and that kind of thing, and it was then nobody thought to sit you down and ask, why are you doing this thing? Because it helps me focus on my lessons. And somebody could have then said, oh, it helps you focus. Maybe there's something, going on here, and we ought to look into it. But instead, it was literally, as you've said, you need to be punished. You've broken the rules. Doing what you're doing. Yeah.
To add to that, Richard, it's also that smoking is bad, and they don't understand that there is chemicals in there that are good for those people, those children, those adults included. So we already know everything there is to know about nicotine. No, we don't. And you're doing something wrong, and we don't like that, and you're embarrassing me, and you're embarrassing yourself. Stop.
Correct your behavior.
Stop that. Right.
Patrick, do we have time to go back to depression for just a minute?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Thank you. I'm a few days away from a very sad day. Last year, right around Thanksgiving, a good friend of my son's and mine named Jason Fugate committed suicide. Jason was an amazing, amazing young man. A father, a husband, a hard worker. He had gotten a very rare disease, and his body quit absorbing nutrients, and he lost like 80 pounds in a couple of months, and he became unable to work, in a lot of pain, and his doctor told him to quit smoking. And he did, and he got worse. And I called him one day and I said, hey, come down to the shop. I want to talk to you. So my son and I convinced him to vape, and his symptoms got better, and he was able to eat a little bit of food, and he gained a little bit of weight. And he was going from hospital to hospital trying to get diagnosed. They gave him medications for like Crohn's disease and those kinds of issues, trying to find something that would help him. And the only thing that helped him was the damn nicotine. Sorry, I'm swearing. And his doctor insisted that he quit vaping, that nicotine was bad for him. And he got depressed and he started talking about killing himself. And he promised his wife that if he ever did such a thing, she wouldn't find him. And she was on the couch one night watching a movie, and he was sitting on the floor by her feet playing some video game. And she woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't there. And she found him hanging in the garage. It's been really rough losing him. And I go on Twitter and I see them stupid ads for them depression sticks.
Yes, that makes me absolutely wild.
The Truth Initiative program, I am so angry that anybody would actually admit on your website that you don't have proof and spend how much money on them stupid ads. And someday some kid who's in trouble and needs help is going to think he can put down his stupid vape and he's going to be okay. And what are people going to think when that child kills himself because nobody helped him and he thought nicotine was his problem? I have never seen anything so irresponsible in my whole life.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm going to make an admission here that I haven't really told anybody, but I deal with suicidal ideation every day. Every day I think about killing myself, and every day I took myself out of it. And without nicotine, that would be so much more difficult. That's just the way the world is for me, and it has been ever since I can remember. And yes, the depression stick campaign drives me wild. It's denigrating to people who are depressed. It's ridiculous.
The sick matter is that it's not sick matter. The amazing fact of the matter is that we have people like Dr. Charles Gardner who will talk to Kevin and I, who will come on our show, because the last time he was on the show, if you watch the show, he actually predicted that this would happen in the show. This is months before the depression stick campaign came out. He said, watch, they're going to have a study that shows that people that have these problems, depression, and he named all these different things, use these products, and then they're going to say that using these products cause these problems.
Yep.
And then months later, it's actually one of the clips that the Scope has. It drives me crazy that we are able to call their shots. We're able to tell you what plays they're going to make in advance, and there's nothing that we can do about it. We know what they're going to do. We've made predictions. We've made predictions on our show that have been quite accurate about how regulation is going to happen here in the States, and people called us crazy when we said it, and here we are. They've done everything I told you they were going to do.
It's disgusting.
Without repercussions.
Disgusting.
That's part of the reason. That's part of the reason we need the wiki, because we need to have the information at our fingertips so that we can beat this stuff, and we can actually throw stuff back at them and say, "No, what you're saying is wrong."
It really sucks.
What you're saying is,
but hey, the thing is, when we say you're wrong and here's the stuff, here's the background, here's the information, here's the science, people like the University of Bath, who are respected educators, respected academics, they turn around and shit on other respected advocates and other respected academics and educators because they don't agree with them. I mean, look what they're doing to Dr. Farsalinos. He has all of the science on his side, and they still discredit him.
Absolutely.
But they're a ridiculous bunch. Bath TR is a joke, basically. They're so far out there.
But they get republished.
Yes, they do.
Because they're a university, they get more airtime than they should do, and nobody actually calls them out for being quite as fringe as they are. But they are fringe.
But as much as we call them out, we don't have the voice.
Not yet. We're working on it.
We have the tools. We have the science. We have the data. The science is always on our side. 100 years from now, we are going to be on the right side of history.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is one, and you'll see me go from 0 to pissed off really fast. That's definitely a symptom of my superpowers. I can go from 0 to like volcano really fast. The issue is that it feels like at times, and at one point we were there. We were at the throwing in the fucking hat and walking away, and another advocate, a baby puppy advocate, came in and woke us up with her passion, and that's why we're still here. But you get frustrated after a while of fighting and never gaining an inch. That's the point, is we're here. Not only do we sit here every weekend, Kevin and I do this every weekend, we're sitting here fighting for the smokers, but we're also shining a light on the fact that some of those smokers don't have a choice other than quit and have massive issues.
Yes.
And dying.
Yes.
Or becoming criminals just to maintain their fucking sanity.
I agree.
For lack of a better word.
I agree.
It makes me angry too. That's what motivates me to carry on, is the smokers out there who, they're given the choice to quit or die, which is ridiculous when there are so many other options that they could take. And, some people maybe, need to use clean nicotine or need to use something. And the meds that the psychiatric doctors dish out to you sometimes make things worse or don't help, or they can be
worse than the symptom.
Make your life a misery.
They compound
you can actually have side effects which are worse than the symptoms you were suffering in the beginning, which is absolutely crazy. Where nicotine seems to be, and this is just purely from my own point of view, nicotine seems to be a wonder drug that lets me actually interact with the world on the world's terms and not freak out. And it's really that seriously true.
You need to tell us your perspective.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, this is our community is the community that we should be amplifying. Because yes, Chugga says in the chat room, in the neurodiverse community, I would suggest that odds are higher. It's a case of quit or die. Because yes, Richard, if Richard didn't have, for example, Richard was here in the States and your nicotine patches is, what did you say, Richard? 48 milligrams?
My nicotine pouches are 50 milligrams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you can
those get, are those legal in the UK?
They're not illegal to possess or use. They're illegal to sell.
There you go.
Because they're over the nicotine cap.
Yes. And my e-liquid, which I make myself, is illegal completely because it's over the nicotine cap.
Yes. So no, I thought you were saying nicotine patches.
Because, you can get nicotine patches up to 21 milligrams.
Right. So here in the States, that's the same thing. But in China and other countries, you can get them all the way up to 42. milligram.
Yes.
And all of the
They-
science,
yeah.
all of the science shows that the higher concentrated nicotine patches are far more successful. So,
Yes.
But they don't tell you that.
and you know, the truth of the matter is 2 patches don't do the same thing. 221
Oh,
milligram
no,
patches
no,
do
they
not
don't,
do
no.
the same thing as 142 milligram patch. They
No.
don't.
And the first time that I tried to give up smoking, I went to the doctor and they tried to give me a 3 milligram patch when I was a 60 a day smoker. And you can imagine exactly what happened. It just did not work. It didn't do anything. It was just not enough nicotine.
You
Yes,
know-
exactly.
What it is. They already
Yes.
know that the higher I've used the words "do not limit nicotine strength" 100 times. It's probably the UK silliness that started that in my head. I might have stolen it from Alan Beard. I don't remember. You don't do that. A couple of years ago, they came out with higher nicotine strength does help smokers. Now, had I known that 10 years ago, maybe I'd have said, oh, okay, well, I'll do it. I did 21. It didn't work. I was so mad. I did about 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever it was, and I couldn't stand myself. Normally. No, my God, you don't think I'm easy to get along with now?
I can't stand you now.
I know. I know you don't like me, but I agree that any way you can, if you're choosing to quit, is good. And if they're going to limit nicotine strength and scare the hell out of people to not take the nicotine that they want, need, desire, must have, whatever level that is where they are, like one of you two said earlier, then it's futile. So here's a patch, 30 times you're going to try over your lifetime. How much harm reduction is that over 30 years? 7% success.
I mean, I can't
All you got to do is
believe
raise
that.
it.
Yeah, the first time I tried to give up smoking, the only things the doctor could offer me would be a 3 milligram patch or 1 milligram nicotine lozenges, and that just doesn't cut it.
You can't put 5 or 10 of those in your mouth at one time.
You could triple your dosage and still not have enough.
Yeah.
Like a chipmunk.
And
that's the problem.
I was taking, like, actually, you can put 5 of those in your mouth at once, because that's what I was doing, and chewing nicotine gum. And it still wasn't enough nicotine. It wasn't until vaping came along and I actually got to mixing my own liquids, and I went, well, I'm going to give me as much nicotine as I actually want. And suddenly I went from, it took me a year of dual use to give up smoking, because I did not want to give up smoking. I didn't want to give up smoking. I enjoyed smoking. I liked smoking.
It made you feel good.
It made me feel normal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I actually got enough nicotine in an e-cig, and back then I was using 60 milligram in cigar-like type e-cigs. So I was probably getting the same nicotine delivery as I'm getting now, using 48 milligram liquid in a relatively high-powered mod. And I used to chain vape 60 milligram liquid in 410 atomizers. Yeah. And I came to this conclusion 2008 that I was just going to up the nicotine until it felt like I had enough. And then within 3 weeks, I think, I'd given up smoking because I just didn't feel the need to buy any more tobacco. It was simple as that. And it was a really weird thing to happen.
You found your limit. You found your strength. Yeah.
Yes. And I titrated down my nicotine to 0. And then I felt all strange and weird and peculiar, and things got worse, and I felt more suicidal and generally just didn't get on in life as well. At that point, I was actually diagnosed at the age of 47 with all sorts of things which previously I'd obviously had my entire life, but nobody had actually taken the time to sit me down and figure out what was going on. And it's a case of, no, to heck with it. I'm going to go and buy some 50 milligram nicotine pouches. I'm going to put 48 milligram nicotine in my 90-watt box mods because I need the nicotine. There's no reason not to have it because it's not going to kill me. And it helps. It really helps. And it really makes things better.
These stories are the things that the experts that we all know don't listen to us or anyone else for that matter.
The experts that we know, the experts we know actually do, Kevin.
Well, the ones we love, they know. The ones we don't.
Yes, but we're getting more and more of them. And I think we need to do a better job of amplifying the voices of the experts that do say that the world needs these harm reduction products. You know, you look at what some of the people that we really care about are going through as scientists and academics. You know, they're being cut off from funding, they're losing their jobs. Like the one on Twitter said one time, you know, if I do this for my PhD and do a paper on harm reduction, tobacco harm reduction, am I committing career suicide? And why should any young person that's working on their future have to choose not to tell the truth about tobacco harm reduction for fear they won't find work and be able to support their families for the rest of their lives?
Right.
So we need to do better at giving them a voice.
And I think that we've done a good job of that. I mean, obviously we've interfaced. I mean, obviously Cliff Douglas doesn't want to come on our show because we're small fish in the big sea. But we, you know, Charles Quartermanch, you know,
that was a good show, by the way. I really liked that one.
I mean, he came from outside of our sphere. Like he's a financial dude. He's a number cruncher. He's an analyst. You know, obviously we've had Mara Glover on the show. She's been attacked academically. Charles Gardner, he's going to be the next bullseye because he's, you know, at Inco now. You know, he was part of Smoke Free World, which everybody and anybody that's even slightly brushed against Smoke Free World is going to fall prey. But we talked a little bit about it last night. The WHO, their constitution or their Declaration of Human Rights includes the right to health and the right to human health and the right to having choice.
And there should be a right.
Your health.
There should be a right to harm reduction.
Should be. I mean,
and there is in other fields.
It seems
in
to me
drugs. People have a right to harm reduction.
But it seems to me their Declaration of Health, their Declaration of Human Rights, that document encompasses harm reduction. When you start reading their definitions that they've included on what they consider to be part of the right to good health, to health. And we're not only talking about health care, which is covered in there, but they're talking about quality of life. They're talking about being included in the choices and the decisions that are made about what what is allowed. And then obviously the FCTC Article 1D specifically names harm reduction as part of their mission.
Yes.
And if you go to the World Health Organization...
But they couldn't get any further away from harm reduction if they tried.
No, but if you go,
they
go to their documents...
Yes, I know. I've read it.
It specifically if you type in harm reduction on their website,
Yes.
many hits will come up about drug policy, will come up about all sorts of harm reduction that they've embraced.
Yes, absolutely. But why they seem totally incapable of embracing harm reduction for tobacco. And it's the setting fire to tobacco that contains the harm. As far as vaping goes, the risks are so much lower that they might as well not be there at all, really. I mean, at least 95% safer, and that's when they say that, I always try and make sure that I get the at least in there, because it's probably more like 99.9% safer.
I mean, they're definitely being conservative.
I mean, the UK government are brilliant for coming out with the 95% safer figure, but yes, they're being extremely conservative, and the risk of snus and nicotine pouches is probably even lower than vaping, to the point where you can say
0.
You're taking more risk by crossing the road or taking a bus or going to London, as I just did and have just got back from, and having a drink is more risky than using nicotine pouches. I'm sure of it.
Don't mention drinking, Richard.
Was Norbert Zillatron there, by the way?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was there.
Yep,
Okay.
He had his holsters on display as per usual, and his collection of vaping equipment.
Yep.
I mean, there were a good few people there who, and they're all hardcore advocates, and they actually got some people to take notice. There's the shame of having COVID going on that there couldn't be more people there, but we weren't the only ones. There's a van driving round Parliament Square, round and round and round, with Boris back vaping on it in 10-foot high letters, and so we're not the only ones who are trying to catch the attention of the government, and I think we did. We certainly, they certainly caught the attention of Bloomberg. Apparently, there were frantic transatlantic phone calls going on, and police and security getting very nervous about this protest.
Good.
And
we should never have called it a protest, though. This is a rally in support of.
Yes, it's a rally in support of harm reduction.
Right. And the way those were, I mean, obviously, if you say protest in the UK, they're still going to think of those crazy Americans that stormed the Capitol building here. And, I mean, that's still fresh on everybody's mind. So we don't want to use the word protest because the UK has done it mostly right.
Yes.
So we definitely don't. I mean, we would be much more beneficial in calling it a rally in support of and a thank you to the UK government or Public Health England for being smart.
Yes. But, I mean, the award that Bloomberg was given was. I hope they actually give it to him as well, because. I mean, I'd like to say hi to the folks from Bath TR as well, who I'm sure are watching. And I'd like to let them know that whatever happens, the wiki isn't going away. And it's not there because it's making money. It's there because it's needed. It's required.
It's a resource.
It
yes.
To be there. Yes.
And
we're not motivated by...
Huge resource.
What was this, Skip?
Isn't the next segment supposed to start in like 7 minutes?
8 minutes. No, it's 28 minutes.
All I know is
that
that I love
45.
Oh, let me look. I did beg for extra
doing-
time.
They've seen our show.
The next segment doesn't start until 11 our
These
time,
chuckle-
or
these
11
chuckleheads.
on the counter. We still have time. I don't obviously want to be a hog and suck up all the time, because they do have pre-recorded content that we're bumping. But it has been an amazing conversation, and obviously we will continue to converse. Richard's been on the show now that you understand that you can do the show. It's just that your internet sucks and you may have to not turn your camera on. You're going to come on the show and we're going to continue this conversation, and maybe Kath will actually show up on screen instead of in the chat room. I would Hennig has actually sent me a private message, and he wants to know, what message would you like to pass on to the COP delegates, Richard?
I've already passed on my message to the COP delegates. I've actually got my MP to write a letter to them with my view that they should support vaping, that they need to change the way the World Health Organization looks at harm reduction. I've asked for them to suggest the World Health Organization actually has a working party on harm reduction built into the system. Whether that will make any difference, I don't know. But yeah, I've made sure to make it abundantly clear that something needs to change, and it needs to change radically, and harm reduction needs to be embraced, not completely ignored.
Skip?
Yes.
What would you like to is there a message that you would like to pass on to the COP delegates, even though we're Americans and we're not signatories? Words are good.
Words are good. You know, after surviving a lifetime of bullying and abuse and poverty, I'm 63 years old, and for the first time in my life, I can look in the mirror and say I'm a good person. And I think my life has value. I think I'm a productive member of society. And I think that everybody who uses nicotine, be it smoking or an alternative product, their life matters. And you can pass all the flavor bans and taxes and other kinds of bans you want. You can't force the whole world to stop smoking. And the most compassionate thing you could do is value their life and make sure that these novel products have a place in the marketplace so that people like me can be a grandma and be a great grandma and donate to my food shelf and give a total stranger a hug on a day they need a hug. And what they're doing now is just literally forcing people to die. And I don't know how you can call yourself a health organization and not care about the lives of people who use nicotine.
Kevin?
Oh, are you sure you want me to do this?
Oh,
So-
I'm gonna fire. I've already got the barrels loaded.
I know you make me follow these guys, and that's probably going to turn a little bit. I think if you're going to focus to those at COP9, if you're going to focus on taxes for the past 30 years or 40 years, it's not worked. It hasn't dropped the smoking rates around the globe significantly enough to say, hey, let's keep doing it. So that tells me you like money. You really, really like the money and job security more than you care about the humans you're allegedly trying to serve that you won't allow in. So the public and the media. So if you're going to be anti-tobacco, you're also anti-human. And you're not listening to the humans who keep telling you the same story. from sea to shining sea and all around the globe. So if you're going to be anti-tobacco, just do that. You're gunning towards a faceless corporation or corporations, and some of those corporations are countries. They're not going anywhere, kids. How long have you been doing this? Smarten up. So it is about the money. It isn't about the humans that you're forcing to have smoking or dying. You're not telling the truth about nicotine, and basically you all can kiss my ass. That's my take on that. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Not sorry.
A lot of people aren't aware of this, and I don't know if H or Paul or whoever's in the back room, but I've just shared something. If you have time, slap that on the screen for me, because this visual might be important. It might be impactful for people to understand. So there's this thing that WHO calls Empower, and this is a program funded by well, am I calling him Lord Voldemort, or am I calling him Michael Bloomberg? There is an inside joke amongst us in the backstage area that we've been calling him Lord Voldemort. But anyway, Empower is a program. It's initiatives that the WHO are pushing all over the globe, and this is part of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. It's one of the things they're chatting about, and nowhere in their program does it talk about studying nicotine. Does it talk about affecting
finding out
change?
why people use nicotine? Why
do people use nicotine? We've been on this. We've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes now, and we've told you that that's a very important factor in what you do. So, you have the M in Empower is monitoring tobacco use. Well, you've been doing that. We know which demographics use. You know which demographics smoke. You know where they live, why they do it. You've done socioeconomic analysis to understand that people in low economic situations, which means that they're probably nervous about where their next meal is coming from, nervous about their husband beating them when they come home, nervous about whether their kids will be able to have a roof over their head. These are all stressors. So people in that situation, they smoke to relieve the tension and the pressure of life because they have difficult ones. Then you have guys like us who use it to maintain an even keel, to prevent us from going off the deep end, from Richard or the lovely Skip for prematurely ending their lives because they're using nicotine to smooth out the edges and to stay focused. I use it to prevent me from killing other people. I've never wanted to kill myself, but I have wanted to kill other people. And nicotine calms me down and keeps me from doing that. You have protecting people from tobacco smoke, which is a wonderful mission. Tobacco smoke is awful. It smells. I won't even try to argue that there's a thing called secondhand smoke, and it can't be good. I mean, it's probably not nearly as bad as what many people think it is. It's not great. I mean, alone, it stinks. As an ex-smoker, I can smell it like 100 feet away. So, yeah, quitting tobacco, that's fine if you don't need it. And if you do need it, how about quitting smoking instead of quitting tobacco and offering alternatives? How about you could just add the word offering alternatives here? Warning about the dangers of smoking instead of tobacco, because tobacco is not dangerous by itself. I mean, it's not bad until you light it on fire, but it does have some wonderful things that happens. Enforcing tobacco advertising, promotion, and sponsorship bans. We've done that. Here in the States, we've done that. Other countries, they've done that. plain packaging in Australia and other countries, and
It didn't make a blind bit of difference. Yes,
not a bit. It's a make work. It's a look what we did, and then here raising taxes on tobacco. Who do you think that fucking punishes? It's not the cigarette manufacturers.
no,
They're not paying the damn taxes.
The people who earn low incomes
And
who don't have the money to spend on tobacco,
damn it,
and would rather go without lunch and have
Yes.
a cigarette.
exactly,
Those
Richard.
are the people it
When
punishes.
you were a smoker and you were stressed out, and you had a choice between having a lunch or a smoke, you were going to
it
have
would
a
be
smoke
cigarettes every time.
every time. So I look at you, WHO, and I wonder, are you listening to us? Are you listening? Are you even caring? Do you even bother to speak to the people that you're denigrating and punishing when you come up with these things? Are you sitting in a room, a sterile room, surrounded by other people that have nothing going on, that want to push and enforce their will upon other people? That's what you are. That is what you do. You don't care about happiness of other people. You don't care about people like me or Skip or Richard or Kevin's son or Kevin's wife or Kevin or Shannon Brown in the chat room or Bruni or Leanna. You don't care about those people. You only care about enforcing your will upon other people. And we're tired of it. We are not going to sit quietly and let you take away our choice. We're not going to let you take away our sanity, because I will tell you, I will not go on the meds that they've prescribed for me. Richard has already chosen not to go on those meds. Skip has chosen to try to manage her problems without pharmaceuticals that turn us into mindless dulders that don't have any will, that sit in a corner and struggle with making a single decision, because that's what these pills that you give us do. We sit there and struggle with taking one step towards a goal. And without nicotine, we would be in that situation. I wouldn't be able to sit here and have a tirade and yell at you and point out all of your insane ideas about what I should do to maintain my sanity. So I'm tired of it. Richard's tired of it. Skip's tired of it. Kevin's tired of it. Leanna, Pippa, Bruni, Mallory, we're all fucking tired of it. We are not going to let you have the power over our lives, and we are going to scream and point your hypocrisy out to the world. Anyway, I love you guys. Appreciate it. I'm glad that you came on the show to tell your stories. I'm glad people watched it. I'm glad that that Scope is allowing us to bring our stories out to an even bigger audience. And I hope, not to commercialize, but I hope that people that watch the Scope show that haven't ever watched Son of Liberty Radio, go to your podcast app and type in hashtag Son of Liberty Radio. You're going to find our audio show. If you like YouTube, you can go onto YouTube and type in hashtag Son of Liberty. You're going to get Son of Liberty Radio. Don't forget the radio. You're going to get our shows. Go and click on one of our shows and like and follow our channel. Go to Smoke Free Radio Network on Facebook. We're there. And follow Kevin on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Kevin is at Vaping It, and I am at Knock Noir. Or just type in Twitter, hashtag Son of Liberty. You'll find one of our tweets. So appreciate it. Thank you guys. And we have given them 13 minutes to get their pre-recorded show in. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.
See ya.
Thank
Hello, let me just say I don't like either of you.
Well, that's understandable.